Hello everyone and welcome to Spooky Sunday on a Monday. I apologise for my tardiness. However, nothing is really going to plan with my technical issues. Before I get into Spooky Sunday, you remember my community post about the tip tapping and that I'd left my microphone on? Well, I attempted to screen record with my microphone off and you hear nothing. So that does not fix the problem and I'm back to square one. I also have an issue where, obviously you research videos, you record and create your videos, and then you have to upload your videos. And it takes an age. My uploads are honestly, my mainstream media one, I think, took about 5 hours to actually get it onto YouTube. And yesterday's video about committing the perfect murder took way too long to upload again. So by the time it was up there, I was heading off to bed. So here I am recording Spooky Sunday on a Monday. But you're all fab and you're all very patient with me. Thank you so much. So on this Spooky Sunday Monday, I want to talk about the phenomenon that is sleep paralysis because it is something that I have experienced myself several times in my life. I am knocking on wood here because I really don't want another one. And I wonder if any of you have experienced these night terrors because for me, they have really been something that at the time freaked me the hell out. They started when I was about, late teens, I would say, maybe 16, 17, 18, something like that. So obviously your body's going through hormonal changes and you're becoming an adult. But I remember every single episode of sleep paralysis very, very clearly. The last one I had would have probably been 8 or 9 years ago. And frankly, I don't want another one. When I first started experiencing sleep paralysis, I had no idea what it was. It was terrifying. I couldn't really describe it very well to people. I was kind of like, well, you're kind of awake, but you're not awake and you can't move. And I was kind of looked at like I was weird. But now I realise they are far more common. These episodes are far more common than we think. And there is a scientific explanation for them, apparently. What these explanations don't explain is the presence you feel in your room when you are having them. So I'm going to start off by telling you about my personal experiences. Then I'm going to look at the scientific explanation and then we're going to look a little bit about the folklore. So my first ever experience, as I said, I was a teenager and I remember being in my bedroom asleep. It would be the middle of the night probably. And I was lying on my back and suddenly all your consciousness awakes. My eyes weren't open, but I knew I was awake. And the next thing, I started gliding across the bed. And it was horrifying because I couldn't stop it happening. And then I got faster and faster. And the whole time I could not move. And I'm thinking, any minute now, I'm just going to crash onto the floor. I'm going to crash onto the floor. And I couldn't stop it. And then all of a sudden I woke up, as in my eyes opened and I could move again. There's an atmosphere that surrounds these episodes that's creepy as hell. And that was what frightened me more than what actually happened. So there I was kind of, you think about it, whizzing across the bed, basically getting faster and faster. That part isn't that terrifying, but there was a vibe surrounding it that was really quite horrible. So that was my first one. So the second one, this was in my parents' home. So the second one, again, I was a teenager in the same bedroom, middle of the night. Same thing happened. All of me woke up apart from my eyes It's how I would describe, perhaps, I read somebody describe being in a coma, and I feel like it could be the same sort of sensation where you're aware of all your surroundings, you can't open your eyes and you can't move. And this one, I felt hands on my face, pushing my head back into the pillow. And that was absolutely terrifying. These hands weren't trying to suffocate me. They were on my face. So they weren't trying to strangle me or anything like that. But it was like they were stopping me from moving. And I remember clearly trying to scream and trying to move, and logic saying, come on, wake up, you've got to wake up, you've got to wake up. And I couldn't. And I remember my mouth silently trying to scream. It was just opening and closing and nothing was coming out. And then all of a sudden, bam, you're awake and you can move again and you are creeped out. At those moments, I get up out of bed and I go and put the kettle on, because the last thing you want to do is go back to sleep. It was likely a year or two later. I'd moved away now to college, where I had another one, and I'd met some new friends, and we'd quite often hang out together. And one of our friends, Julia, her name was, had gone away for the weekend. So anyway, I went to bed in my room, and this thing happened again. And I remember lying on the bed and my door opening, and Julia walked into my room. Now, I didn't have my eyes open, but I knew it was her. And again, there's this horrible atmosphere, and she just walked slowly past my bed, down to the bottom of my bed. And I said, Julia, what are you doing here? I thought you'd gone away for the weekend. So it was all very logical. I knew Julia had gone away. I don't think I actually spoke that out loud, but I knew I was saying it to her. I couldn't see her in that my eyes were open, but I knew she was there, and I couldn't move. And she would not answer me. She just stared at me from the bottom of the bed, and this fear crept over me, because I thought, that's not Julia. That's not the Julia I know. And then she started crawling up the bed. From the bottom of the bed, I could feel her crawling up the bed towards my face. I was terrified. And again, you could imagine the panic, trying to open my eyes, wake up, come on, wake up. Couldn't move my arms or legs. And then all of a sudden, just as she's about to reach my face, I wake up. Eyes wide open, can move again. I tell you, I shot out of that bed, went into the student kitchen, and I think it was 4-ish in the morning, 5-ish. I stayed in that kitchen till other people got up. I was terrified. So there was that one. I didn't have another one in college that time, but again, I think I'd gone on holiday. This one happened on holiday. I went on holiday with some student friends to Cyprus, and it happened there. I was lying in this sort of apartment that we'd all rented together, and you kind of know it's happening. You're like, oh no, this is happening and I can't move. And this guy walked into the room, and again, like Julia, he walked in really slowly. There's this horrible vibe, and it was a guy I knew, and I said, what are you doing here? It was one of my student friends who had come on holiday. Craig, his name was. And he wouldn't respond to me. So I knew again that this was not really Craig. And I'm lying on that bed, and he didn't go to the bottom of the bed like Julia. He walked around the bed, wouldn't answer me. And I was just, again questioning, what are you doing here? Why are you in my room? And he just kept, I knew he was just staring at me. And then I woke up. Now, years later, a couple of years later, I had the most frightening one that terrified me. And there's a little bit of a twist with this one. I, again, rented a house. I was living in London at the time, and 4 of us girls were renting a house. 2 of them had finished college. I was doing my last year, and one of my friends moved out, and I thought, you know what, I fancy a change of room, and I am actually going to do a little bit of a spooky Sunday about this house. So anyway, I thought, I fancy a change of bedroom. I'm going to move into her room, and someone else can rent my old room. She had a lovely old fireplace in there, and it faced the back of the house rather than the front. And I had been on the ground floor, you might call it the first floor, and I wanted to go up to a higher level. So she moved out and I moved in there. One night, I knew this was happening. I woke up, all my senses woke up. I could not open my eyes. And there was this black figure in the corner of the room. I knew it was a man. And it was like a fuzzy black male form. And I could see the red glow of a cigarette. This thing was smoking. Now, unlike the other ones I had, this one was nameless. I didn't know this person, but it felt really, really bad. And he was standing right in the corner next to the fireplace. And I just lay there. I couldn't move. Now, we had an upside down house, so our kitchen and our sitting room were on the first floor. Sorry, we call it the first floor. The second floor to you, if you're in America. So ground and first, we call it. Our sitting room and kitchen were upstairs, and plus 2 bedrooms, and then we had a further 2 bedrooms downstairs with a basement as well. So my bedroom was kind of next to the kitchen, and I thought, okay, I've got to bang on the wall. I've got to get someone's attention. I was opening my mouth to scream. Nothing would come out. I remember my hand just being really floppy. I couldn't move. I thought I was moving it, but it wouldn't knock on anything. And the whole time I'm panicking, this thing in the corner of the room starts walking towards me really slowly, and I knew this thing, this male presence, was not good. And this time he went to the bottom of the bed and started crawling up the bed, and he took his cigarette and started burning my legs with it. Now, I couldn't feel the heat, I couldn't feel anything, but I knew what he was doing. And the horror, well, it was just terrifying. Again, as he approached, he probably got halfway up the bed, and I woke up. And yeah, I shot out of there. I could not bring myself to go into that room. I had one more, and again, knocking on wood, I don't want any more of these things, was my ex-husband had gone out to work, and I had a bit of a sleep in one day, and this thing happened again, and he walked into the bedroom, and I knew what was happening. I thought, oh no, it's not him. It's not him. And I was trying to say to him, why are you here? Why are you back from work? You've gone out. And again, this person, my ex-husband, who was my husband at the time, is just looking at me and walking towards me, and I'm not answering me. So I know that it's not him. I cannot open my eyes. I can't move my body. I'm trapped on the bed again. And as he's walking up they all seem to come from the bottom of the bed towards you. And it's getting creepier and creepier and creepier as they approach. And just as they're about to approach, I wake up. And that is the last one I had. And that would have been 8 or 9 years ago. And I'm quite happy with that. And I am not due another one, okay? So those are my experiences from start to finish. Each one I've had, I've described to you. But I'm going to just quickly revisit the black figure smoking the cigarette in the bedroom that my friend had slept in. Now, years later, I've stayed in touch with my old college friends. So we're talking, I would have been about 21 at the time, 22 when that happened. We are talking, I'd have been about 38. And she came to stay with me in Wales, where I now live. And we were chatting and talking and reminiscing about our times in that house. And she said to me, there was something in that bedroom. Now, I had never told her about, because she'd sort of gone her separate way and went to work elsewhere. I had never asked her, never told her about my dream, my sleep paralysis episode in that room. I said, oh, really, Sue? And she said, yeah. She said, I really didn't like it in that bedroom. She said, do you remember that night? I was really frightened and I asked you girls to come in and sleep with me. And I thought, well, yeah, actually, now I do remember you saying, come in, let's have a sleepover in my room. She said, yeah. She said, I was really not happy in that room. Well, I thought, gee, you could have told me that before I moved in there. And then she said, there was a male figure, she said, and he always stood in the corner of the room by the fireplace. And every hair on my body stood on end. And that's when I told her about the dream I had, and the colour just drained from her face. And she said, yeah, I knew he was there too. How freaky is that? So when we go into this now and look at the scientific explanations for sleep paralysis, and then the old folklore linked with sleep paralysis, night terrors and demons, a lot of it, yes, I can make sense that the science makes it make sense. But is there something else going on here? I'm kind of thinking there is. So let's look a little bit at what exactly sleep paralysis is, the scientific explanation, which is somewhat of a relief to a point. So just as you're about to fall asleep or about to wake up from your nap, your limbs refuse to cooperate, your breath shortens and you start to panic. Why can't you move anymore? Why can't you scream? If it wasn't enough, you start to see things. Someone or something is approaching you and there is nothing you can do other than be afraid. Sleep paralysis is a temporary state in which you are in between a state of wakefulness and a state of sleep. Usually, as you are either about to fall asleep or about to wake up, your body experiences atonia, which is a loss of muscle control. Usually, atonia happens whilst you're still unconscious or dreaming, but in sleep paralysis, you are consciously awake, but your body has not yet caught up to your mind. Sleep paralysis is considered to be a type of parasomnia that occurs during REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement. That's the moment where you start dreaming. In REM sleep, you experience both vivid dreams and atonia, which prevents you from hurting yourself by reenacting your dreams. However, when you wake, usually both the dreams and the atonia cease. Hence, you are never consciously aware of the muscle paralysis you experience. In sleep paralysis, when you wake, both the dreams, which are now considered hallucinations, and the atonia persevere. Okay, so I get the science. It's logical. It makes perfect sense to me. And it's somewhat a relief to read about that and listen and understand that that is what's happening to you when these things happen. But there is something I don't understand. And that is why everyone who experiences sleep paralysis has such similar experiences. It's never a good vibe. It's frightening. It's terrifying. And there is something or someone approaching you and there's nothing you can do other than be afraid. You know, throughout folklore, throughout every country has got some demon or hag or witch or some otherworldly being that they attribute to sleep paralysis. And I would love to know whether you think there's something in that. Is it just something in our brains that fires off chemicals that give a negative experience every time when this happens? Or do you think when we sleep, we're more vulnerable to perhaps other worldly beings being able to approach us? I think it's fascinating. I think I'm open-minded. I think it's a possibility. Have you experienced sleep paralysis? Have you had that feeling that something bad is coming towards you and you can't move? Please let me know in the comments. I would love to know. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Sleep well.